Ciao a tutti ragazzi, io sono Ron Swanson, mi chiamo Dan. That's where my Italian will end for now. Maybe next year we'll do the whole video in Italian. But for everyone in English, my name's Dan. Discord is Ron Swanson. This is my deck profile from the GCI Championship Vol.7. Came second place out of 146 players, which was just amazing, unexpected, unbelievable. I'm very, very happy to have been there to do so. So I'm going to take you through the card by card, maybe talked about one or two changes I would make. I've got a separate video coming out. I've vlogged the trip. I vlogged as much as I could at least, so we'll see how that goes. It could have been in English, but I will maybe try and do Italian subtitles if it's not too much. I know it's very hard to do, but we'll see. We'll see how that comes out. There's one this very cool playmat which we'll see in a minute. I'm going to crack that open because it's still in its packaging, and then we'll get going because I am going to use this because it's super cool. Awesome. See you in a moment. Hey everyone, we're back with the profile. Just took me some time to set it up. So let's start with the monsters. So we played Cold Wave Monarchs. So we'll take you through the choices, maybe one or two changes we made before the tournament. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So we'll start with the obvious ones. We won't talk about these too much. So BLS, Breaker, Tribe, Sengan, and Serpent. But they're pretty much every deck, aren't they, really? Tribe was, yeah, neither here nor there. It could have been anything, but you have the Serpent, or you're wanting the Serpent in hand a lot, at least, because of the other cards we play, which we'll see in a minute. But it could be anything, but I'm happy with it in the main. It answers a lot of threats. I was expecting a lot of goat control, so I was 100% being in the main for Italy, but it could be changed for anything, really. It could be changed for a light or dark, but I think with the Abyss Soldier we'll see in a minute, it's helpful to have the water. Then we'll go through. We played one Chaos Sorcerer. This was honestly inspired by Lefia. I've been watching back through all the old GFCs, etc. And in the Dale Bolido GOAT 100, he was on some like Cold Wave Monarchs, but with Sorcerer included. It just had an extra threat. I just wanted, I wanted more threats than just the Monarchs, because it can banish, for example, like compared to say Zaborg, which can only destroy. And it was live all the time. I very, very rarely had dead Chaos. Which was cool. And the recruiters, we played 2 Tomato, 2 Angel, and then we got some targets to come in a minute. I was on 3 and 3 at first, but we changed it a little, which I'll show you in a minute. They were amazing. I didn't feel I needed 3. I definitely didn't feel comfortable with 1 of each in the main for game 1, but occasionally I would side out some. So for example, if I side in a dark, I would sometimes side out a Tomato. But I will show you the other cards in a moment, which we would prefer to side out. So the targets for these, we had for the Angel, it was only DD Warrior Lady. I thought about playing more. I played 1 in the side, which we'll come to. But yeah, it is what it is. I didn't feel comfortable playing 1 Angel in the main, because 1 Angel, 1 Warrior Lady, you've got the same chance of drawing either. If you draw the Warrior Lady, the Angel is quite literally dead. So we played 2 to 1. I would like to play another target, but there just aren't any good enough targets that I'd want to include, especially not over anything else already in the main. And then we played Spirit Reaper as a target for Tomato. This was like MVP of the day. Like, it was fantastic all day. I wouldn't play more than 1, obviously, but it's nice that it hangs around. Like, if you summon it and get an attack in and your opponent can't clear it, you can just sit on it until you get a Monarch. And it's live for that. Even in game round 1, my opponent had to go like neg1 just to deal with it effectively. So it was really cool. It just helped, even if it wasn't attacking for pluses, is what I mean. It was hard to out, or they wasted a card like Snatch on it, which is what happened in game 1, and purely just to be able to attack me. Really, really enjoyed it. Really solid card. I would not cut that. Another target for Tomato, and technically for Faith, technically for the Angel, is 1 Apprentice, 2 Faith. This is where the extra recruiters went. We took out them to include this, so this was Calcifer's idea. And it worked quite well. A lot of the time it's mind games. Do I side it out? Do I keep it in? If my opponent doesn't see it, it's often staying in. But it's also an easy 3 cards to side out. if my opponent has seen it, to make their Nox dead game 2, which is really cool, because if you've sided it out, you just won't set your recruiters unless you absolutely have to. So I really liked it. There was a discussion on whether we play 1 or 2 Apprentice. I was playing 2 at first in testing with Delinquent and Calcifer, but I quickly decided that 1 was enough. Next we've got the other MVP of the day. This won me maybe 4 games on its own, was Stein. I missed turn 3, round 1, game 1. I just need to think of Stein as 4900. Like, Oz plus Stein needs to be something in my head. But then yeah, I still won the game with Stein later on, but I'd missed my chance. It came up again. Well, almost every time it came up, it was fantastic. Sometimes it was dead in hand. It was dead in hand in a number of games, but I was already controlling or winning them games. But again, I get another game shot where I summoned Bolter, I summoned Last Warrior, I summoned everything really with it. Summoning Bolter to kill a Sangan, to then put immense pressure on with the Kaiku was just unreal. It rarely got summoned off Tomato actually. I don't think I ever went into it from Tomato, but the option is there. But it was just a fantastic bomb to have in hand. I wouldn't play more than 1 in the main, I don't think. I will maybe test it, because I haven't tested it. But I would definitely think about including them in the side, but we'll come to that later on. For the Monarchs, I originally had 3 Mobius, 2 Zaborg. But we changed that out. I was playing 3 Mobius in testing and before. It was great because of this guy, the whale. We'll put him down here just to show him. But we just... I was just too bricky, honestly, and I didn't really want to be discarding Mobius. I only really want to discard Serp all the time. So we cut 1 down. It just gave us an extra free space. That's where the other, say, like the Magician of Faith space came from also. It was quite an easy cut. It was technically, we cut it for a brain control, but quite an easy cut anyway. We've gone to the spells, and I won't explain Pot of Grace, Heavy, Snatch. But here's the heart and soul of the deck. 3 copies of Cold Wave. These were fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed this all day. I would keep it at 3. It was just unreal. Even activating Cold Wave turn 1 and setting Recruiter so they're going to attack into it, and in theory you can put out a Stein, etc. But you either force them to attack or you're going to gain advantage because they can only set, depending on what's in your hand. Like if you've got Nobleman and you're forcing them to set with no protection, then you can push for damage with, say, Reaper or Stein, etc. It was just unbelievable. Really, really enjoyed it. It's the reason I wanted to play this deck. I was talking with Delinquent and Calcifer for a few days before, saying I was thinking about playing Chaos Control, and I'm just not experienced enough with the deck, and I'm glad I didn't. But I said I wanted to use Cold Wave because I love the card. We literally thought, why not? Why wouldn't I use Cold Wave if I love the card? So I did, and did very, very well with it. It's absolutely fantastic, and it will stay at 3, always in the main for me. 2 Noblemans, not much to say about this. I tried to keep the spell count short, but we'll talk about what I changed in a minute. We played 1 Prima, just because Monarchs, but also because Abyss Soldier. It was fantastic. I bounced it with Abyss Soldier many, many, many times to go plus, because even if they think they've outed it and you've got Prima, you can summon the Abyss, bounce the Prima, and then they have to deal with it again, but you'll always have a Prima in hand again to always revive it. Really, really enjoyed it. Such a good interaction with it. 1 Brain Control. This was good. It didn't come up enough, but it was great against Warriors, obviously. I very rarely Brain Controlled to summon a Monarch, but I did Brain Control for game quite a few times if my opponent left themselves open. Or left themselves with a small monster and a bigger monster. I didn't ever Brain Control to banish a Chaos, but it can come up. I would keep it at 1. I enjoyed having it there. I don't think we need more. I originally went from main to side and then back to main again. This was the swap for the Mobius. This was Delinquent's idea. Like if I'm bricking on Mobius, this makes Mobius live. And it was really good. It was definitely the right call to play 1 of these instead of the 3rd Mobius. And then last we played 2 Book of Moon, which I wasn't playing at first. I didn't think 2 Book of Moon, or I still don't think 2 Book of Moon will be correct in this deck for certain metas, but we knew there'd be a lot of control, goat control, chaos control, a lot of 1,000 eyes. So I was originally playing just one to have one. But with the meta as it is, that's why this I played the second, because it dealt with 1,000 eyes. It does conflict with Cold Wave. I was originally playing less spells. I think there's 11 here now, or 12, but I wanted to play around 10. But I made the right choice in maining that because it came up a lot, and I didn't lose to goat control, which was ideal. Because it can be very hard to deal with Tsukiyomi with the Monarch. It's just such an easy out. We've gone to the traps. We only played 5 traps, and we played 2 trap dust shoot. Third was optional. It wasn't really needed. Twice throughout the day I actually drew the 2, which ended up being really good. So it wasn't bricky at all. I never had one dead late on. Very, very rarely did I draw into one when I didn't want one. If you see it, it's great. If you don't, you're fine. Like, your deck still does good things. Just nice to have the knowledge. But it's optional. You don't have to play this. This is not mandatory at all. This could be anything. If you wanted to reduce the traps to synergize with Cold Wave, you could. I was also playing 1 Regeki Break, which I removed. Which was a 6th trap, technically. But that was also not needed. It was more a -1 than it was a positive, because I was often using Serpent for Abyss Soldier, for example. And then we played 1 Mirror Force, 1 Ring of Destruction, and 1 Call of the Haunted. Self-explanatory, the call, because Abyss Soldier, Monarchs, etc. This card was fantastic. It outperformed all day. Even when it was dead on the field, if I'd revived something and they banished it or similar, at multiple times, maybe twice at least. I mean, 3 if you count my opponent's Trunade. It was bounced to my hand by Abyss Soldier or Trunade, and just able to reuse it again. Even though they know it's there, sometimes it's very hard to stop. Ring of Destruction just for winning games. There's not much to say about these two. We'll leave them where they are. In fact, the Mirror Force we'll talk about because there's a chance that... Well, I want my recruiters to get attacked. So I thought of leaving it out, but I think that was massively incorrect to leave it. Had to main it. Like, it's such a good card. No Torrential, you'll see, obviously, but that will come into the side. We'll do the side traps first, as we're on the traps. We played 1 anti-spell. In hindsight, I would have played 2 of this, maybe. It was there for Reasoning Gate because I expected a few, or Alt Win, like, say, Jar, Empty Jar, or Library, etc. And it's amazing with Cold Wave. But I would have liked at least a second one. I think if seeing the second one, if I'd have played more to see them more often, of course. Yeah, well, you know what I'm trying to say. Happens. Torrential in the side. This was, again, optional. I had a spare space in the side after I moved the Brain Control back to the main. And Delinquent suggested, like, it should be Torrential. You should have it in there. Because often they're expecting it in the main anyway. The threat of the card is as good as the card itself sometimes, and they're not playing into Torrential, even though I don't main it. But it was fine to bring in for game 2 often. I bought it for a variety of matchups, but anything with tokens like Goat Control or Panda, but also Warrior. We want to get them when they're summoning like the 3rd or the 4th monster, where they think they're really pressuring you. And it was really good. I didn't lose to Warriors all day either. And then we played 3 Royal Decree, which was also awesome. Every time I saw it against Warriors, against Panda, you will have seen the feature match against Delinquent. Royal Decree plus Abyss Soldier was just unreal. There's not much to say about the card. It negates all traps, but it's awesome. So we'll move on to the spells. We played 2 Mystic Walk for the burn. Apart from the Royal Decree, this was the only dedicated burn card, like specific. I wish I'd have played 1 Wombat at least, maybe 2. But we'll talk. Well, I don't know what I would have taken out for them, but I thought I missed them when I lost to Panda, which was, I think, round 5. No, round 5 or round 7. Yeah, it was round 5. Yeah, I wish I'd have had a monster that could attack under Gravity Bind level limit. It came up where I went for a game shot, and Gravity Bind was enough to stall out the whole time, which was super sad. I played 1 Delinquent Duo. I didn't main it. I bought it in for anything that keeps the hand. I bought it in for Turbo, even Goat Control. I also bought it in when I played Earth Return. I played against Earth Return in the top 8. Because he was often holding like Gigantes, Rock Spirit, etc. It was fantastic when it came up. I lost to Duo really hard once or twice, but What can you do? It's in the format. You've got to play it, even in the side. I'm happy I didn't main it. I'm happy to keep it in the side because it was never dead that way. I was always bringing it in for relevant matchups. And finally, one Mystical Space Typhoon. I didn't want to main it again because Cold Wave. I had triple Cold Wave plus Heavy Storm. So I was happy not to have it in. But I would bring it in when going first against back row heavy decks or, I don't know, anything you might want extra back row removal for, really, burn, etc. I didn't miss it at all. I was happy to have it in the side. Snatch did get me once or twice, but there were plenty of other ways of dealing with it. I could always bounce my own monster, for example, or use one of the Monarchs to deal with it. I never wanted Space Typhoon over any other card. We play one Jinzo. We're playing Call and Prima. It's super good against warriors. I even decided it. I played Chaos Mask, but came in against that. It was just almost OTK, like FTK against that. The guy could not do anything, and he was adding back, say, a Regeki break off his mask, but it made zero difference. So would keep this in the side 100%. Wouldn't replace any Monarchs with it. I don't think it's worth it, but happy to have it in the side. Another one-off was Jaugen. This came up in the finals, but not good enough. It was originally a spell canceller. It could have been an anti-spell also. But because of the Shining Angel, I thought this was relevant, and it's light, whereas Spell Canceller was wind. If I'd have had Spell Canceller for the finals, it wouldn't. I would have been dead just one turn quicker because I wouldn't have been able to normal summon it. But it was very meh. Like, it could have been anything. I will still continue to try it, but it was more of a meta call. I had it on me. I wanted some more hate for like combo reasoning, etc. So. The jury's out on this. This could be anything in theory, but it was nice to have a second angel target as well. And then finally we've got 4 monsters. We've got 2 Azora Priest. This was a meta call. There was a lot of thought about putting these in the main because I expected heavy amount of goats, which I saw. We talked through putting it in the main and putting creature swaps in or similar, but it was all anti-synergistic with Monarchs and with Cold Wave. This isn't sticking around to be tributed by a Monarch. Cold Wave doesn't synergize so well with the creature swaps. And it's only minor differences because you're not always going to see them together. But I was very happy with it in the side. Although the bane of my life throughout the day was activate Cold Wave, they changed Scapegoat, and I didn't have this in the main game 1, but it came up so good in game 2 and game 3, and it was really good in the quarterfinals. In the semi-finals as well. So my opponent was trying to judge my skill level. I had Kaiku and Anti-Spell. Kaiku and Azora. So I summoned the Azora next to the Kaiku. Attack with the Azora into their set monster first. It went to grave, whatever it was. And then when I attacked directly with Kaiku, he was constantly thinking. It took maybe 2 minutes. And he finally decided to activate Scapegoats just to test my knowledge. Like, can you cancel and redeclare? Which I did immediately. Said, no Kaiku attack. Kill all the goats, and then Kaiku hit the grave. But it was fantastic. I would stick to 2. I wouldn't play the Wangu because you want them... If you have this in your hand, you want them to chain the goats to the Cold Wave. And you can clear them up easily. And then they're left with, if they have meta, a dead meta in the hand next turn because they can't activate due to Cold Wave. But I wouldn't main them. I will maybe try a version with it, but I don't think it's worth maining them. And 2 Kaiku. This is something I did want to main, but I decided not to. It just didn't... As much as I wanted to main it because it was so good against Chaos, there was nothing I would want to swap it out for. It didn't give any inherent advantage over anything else. I sided them in a lot because I played a lot of Chaos. I even sided them in against Warrior, I think, at one point, just because it was 1800. And they had seen my Faith and Apprentice. So I'm sure they would have kept the Nox in, so it was an easy swap out for them. But I think 2 is nice. I'd never wanted more. I originally had 1 in the side and none in the main. And that was definitely incorrect. I needed the second, or felt I needed the second. But also with Call and Prima, it was like having more copies anyway. You'll have seen it again in the semi-finals where I summoned my opponent Torrentials. I summoned a Brazil Priest, my opponent Torrentials, killed his own monster, and then I flip Call for Kaiku. And it was game due to life, but it was game either way because I was banished in the grave. So that's the profile. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much to GoatCommunityITALIA for hosting, for Delinquent, for Calcifer, for the trip, for all of the judges, for everybody. I met everybody we went to dinner with. Thank you for Milan teaching me about La Scopetta. It was just such a good time. I can't thank everybody enough. I met so many people, like 60, 70 people. I forgot many faces, which I felt terrible about, but it was so hard to remember everyone. It was very overwhelming, and I'm very happy. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for having me, Italy, and I'll be back soon. This is Dan Swanson signing out.